everybody. I'm really pleased to finally be doing this. As you all know, about 18 months ago, we were all supposed to get together, and I traveled home on the 23rd of February 2020 thinking, right, the next time I'm in London, I'm going to meet all the examiners. And then I never traveled again. But I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name's Jayanti Banerjee, and I'm the Director for Language at Trinity College London. And one of my responsibilities is to make sure I stay in touch with all of you, which I've clearly done the most horrifically bad job at. But since this is the first time that I'm speaking to many of you, most of you perhaps, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. It's always hard to know where to start, but I think I'll start by saying that I was born in India and grew up entirely in Asia. The country that I know best in the world, because it's still the place that I've lived the longest, is Singapore, and that's the passport I travel on. And that's where I started my career. I started as a teacher in a secondary school, teaching sixth form. And I always say to people, turning 30 changed my life, because I took a look at where I was and decided I didn't want to be there when I was 50, which led to an MA and a PhD, and to where I am today. My main interest and academic background is in language assessment. So I come to this role with a very strong interest in how we test and how to make tests better. And one of the things that attracts me to Trinity is its commitment to making exams a positive experience for the candidate. And of course, you all are a really big part of that. I know that I've mentioned the fact that I work for Trinity. I work within one of Trinity's verticals, and it's called sector strategies. And it's probably a term you've heard several times and thought, what on earth? Just around the time that I was brought on board, Trinity was restructured into three broad verticals. One vertical was called delivery and operations, which is sort of obvious. It is responsible for things like our technology, how we communicate with examiners, how we store records, also to do with how we schedule exams and examiners and candidates. The second vertical is called market hubs. So that's our marketing function, and also all of our relationships in all of the countries in which we deliver tests. And then the final vertical is sector strategies, and that's everything to do with what we sell. It's our product. It's the research we do. It's our relationships with all of you, with examiners. It's our items. So all of those test booklets, examiner booklets you get, come out of sector strategies, even though they're delivered to you through delivery. One last piece of reorganizing that we've done took place earlier this year. And as part of it, we decided that we would introduce the new role of lead senior examiner. And it's because, partly, of course, because I've been so rubbish at keeping in touch with you. We were very aware of the fact that you are such an important part of Trinity that we needed two or more very senior people who understood what you do and who could help to keep me straight on working with you. And I'm now going to hand over to the two people who've recently taken up the lead senior examiner roles, Gwilym and Jan, to both reintroduce themselves to you and to tell you a little bit about what they envisage their role to be.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Gwilym. So I've been a senior examiner mostly for CELT, and then recently, obviously, for VC examining through Zoom. I think I would have met lots of you through there. Happy to be in the new role as lead senior examiner, and I very much look forward to working with all of you and making changes to things like mentoring, monitoring, and offering more support to examiners where needed.
Okay, well, I second all that Gwilym says. Many of you know me from my role as an examiner and my role as a monitor, and a lot of you new examiners know me, even if it's only via email or some of you via drop-in sessions. So I've been involved in training, helping you get through the rigorous training course that we've been running. So I'll be hoping to see some of your faces during the conference. I think, again, as Gwil says, we want to kind of really improve our communication record with you, and to listen to you and to be your voice, but also on the other side as well, to be the voice of Trinity and explaining to you Trinity's side on the matter. So we look forward to what we're going to be doing. Okay, should we hand over? Well, shall we talk about the conference? Jay, over to you. You're saying you couldn't make it, and none of us could. I think I was one of the only people who actually went to Coventry and got snowed in. There we go. So here we're remote. So
yeah, Coventry was Coventry was pre 2019 February.
It was, yeah, it was the last time we all got together, only we didn't.
We've had a really bad record, haven't we? 2019, everybody got snowed in, and 2020, a pandemic.
Well, this time, let's see what we can do.
Well, certainly doing things 100% remote, we have far more faith in the fact that we can pull it off. I will say, before I let Gwilym and Jan give you a little overview of what this conference will be like, that we are very much hoping that once COVID is endemic rather than pandemic, we will be able to resume seeing people in person. But for now, we are being careful because we'd like to keep everyone as safe as possible. And we will do an entirely online conference for now and keep our fingers crossed that things change. But Gwilym and Jan, what can examiners expect during this week?
So the conference schedule is set up. It's over the 4 days. And the aims of this was just to touch base with all of the examiners across our panels again, and get everyone together back in one place. The sessions that we have are mix of input, which is based on monitoring things that we've noticed or needs for the panel, and Q&A and discussion sessions after the input sessions. Themes of this are fairly general, just to gather as much information from all of you as possible. You've all made it here to Hoover, the platform we're using. And you can see that for all of the sessions, including this one, there is a Q&A discussion board, which we would very much value your input throughout the conference on the sessions, which can then be used in both the Q&A sessions on the timetable. On the Friday, there is a reflection session where we'll be looking and picking up on all the feedback that you have given us. And it will also help us in the future for things that we can take away and possibly improve on any training needs in the future. Jan?
Yeah, can I just say a big thank you to those of you who did fill in the pre-conference survey, because not only were we looking at monitoring reports, but also, again, opening up this communication and listening to you, and trying to take some of the areas that we felt we could usefully answer some of these questions during the conference session. We're not going to be able to cover everything. So things like assessment and standardization will be waiting in the wings, but we hope you enjoy what's on offer. And we've got a guest speaker on Friday that hopefully you'll have filled in his survey too, and he'll be giving you some of the results that he's found from the information that you've given him about the CEFR, and then he'll be talking about how we can apply that to Trinity speaking exams. Okay.
Perhaps now's a good time to talk about how many changes we've made to the way we work as a result of the pandemic. We've spoken somewhat jocularly about how it's affected the conference, but it's affected so much. And I'm conscious of the fact that we've called upon all of you to respond very, very flexibly to the changes that we've made. We pat ourselves on the back that we came up with all sorts of wonderful ideas for working digitally, but we then asked you to join us in that journey, and we would like to thank you all for having done as much as you've done. And I know that we've done an awful lot. Now, Jan has referenced already this online training that she has been a part of, and I think I'm going to let her talk about it. And what we haven't talked about, though I think Gwilym might have elliptically referenced it, is all of the online training that we've done for examiners to become accustomed to examining by video conference. I'm going to let Gwilym talk about that. But Jan, perhaps you'd like to talk a little bit about the work we've done to bring on board examiners who live in other parts of the world where we give exams.
I'll keep it brief, because obviously a lot of those examiners that are here listening to us have been through that process. So we've been building up examiners, particularly in Spain and Italy, and some in India and Hong Kong, I believe. And instead of doing the face-to-face weekend training, a course was designed to take them through all the different stages and learning how to, by watching videos, doing exercises, to familiarize themselves with Trinity and how it works. Many of them had been involved on the other side and had worked for schools where they're examining Trinity. So it was interesting for them to see the work that goes on behind the scenes to become an effective Trinity examiner. I think there are things missing in this training, obviously, because the face-to-face, and we're going to be reviewing and thinking, how could we perhaps do it better? There's always room for improvement. But as the examiners come out of it, they have been trained very rigorously. Of course, until you actually start practicing it and getting out in the field, it can be very tricky and you do feel a bit on your own. However, there has been mentoring and monitoring put into place to help with test plans. And we are very much there for new examiners, but also not forgetting the old examiners. A lot of the training we've been doing we will revise it and make it available to others as well. So hand over to Gwilym.
Yeah, so I think the majority of people here will be experienced now in examining through Zoom, through video conference. This was a huge challenge when we started, and I think we've now trained hundreds of examiners through either in CELT or International or Skills for Life. I think as we record this, there's one of the final Skills for Life training sessions taking place today, I think. And I think Trinity was very aware that they didn't want to leave anyone behind with the move over to this digital examining. So obviously, apart from a few instances of not having sufficient technology or internet speeds, they have made a concerted effort to kind of bring everyone up to the ability, to the stage where they feel comfortable doing it. So I think that has been a certain element of upskilling or expansion of skills through doing this. But it's been very impressive, and I think the English language panel was the first or the most adaptable in delivering all of their products online. And generally, I think the reception both from markets and from examiners, candidates, has been positive. I think lots of examiners might be curious as to whether this is a permanent change or just temporary, though.
Yeah. Well, examining by video conference is here to stay. One of the things that we are hoping this will do, that the opportunity we've sort of grabbed hold of with both hands, is that we've now diversified the way in which we deliver our exams. That doesn't mean, however, that we will never examine in person again. As soon as travel is safe and feasible, we do intend to examine in person, and we I suppose is the best way to put it, that everybody will have an opportunity to travel. Now, we have noticed that our customers are also becoming much more open to different ways of being examined. So we can't look into the future with a crystal ball and say for sure how much demand there will be for in-person and how much demand there will be for video conference examining. However, our plan is to keep all of our options, all of these options on the table. And based on research that was done shortly before the pandemic, there's every indication that there will continue to be an appetite for in-person exams, as well as a growing appetite for digitally delivered exams. So I think the way we have it at the moment is here to stay, but the way we had it in the past will return, though possibly in some modified amount.
Good. I think certainly the benefits to examining digitally are huge. And I think everyone recognizes the opportunities that we might have for, growing in certain markets or getting more people having access to the products that we offer. We've mentioned earlier about this is our first conference in a while in Zoom, and obviously previously we were having conferences annually or semi-annually, and they were big events. Do you see that model returning, or where do you see future training?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because we'd already begun to make adjustments to the model in the sense that the March 2020 Examiner Conference was due to be held in London at AMP House in Croydon, where we already have our substantial delivery and operations team working. And we'd, especially for all of you, in fact, we had refitted an entire floor into meeting spaces. And as you can well imagine, we don't want that to go to waste. However, in the time since March 2020, we have built substantial groups of examiners in Italy, in Spain, in Hong Kong, and in India. We also know that increasingly our examiner panels are distributed across the United Kingdom. And what this does is it constrains, if we focus entirely on meeting as a whole group in person, this constrains how often we can meet. Because you can imagine just the sheer logistics of bringing 400 to 600 people together all at once, finding a date that works in the first place. So Gwilym, Jan and I are going to be looking very carefully at how we can have more events during the year, but smaller events. And when it is safe enough to start meeting more in person again, perhaps geographically sort of distributed events so that people can actually travel less distances. I'd like to sort of think about the snowstorms in 2019. If we had planned for sort of 5 or 6 regional events rather than the big event in Coventry, we might have actually all made it. So I'm sort of saying watch this space, but we're really interested in offering more opportunities for us to talk. And that means thinking differently about what those opportunities should look like. And we definitely want to see everybody. I can't think of anything better than a glass of wine or a beer at the end of the day and just being able to chat freely rather than just the formal interactions that we often have.
Okay, thank you, Jay. I think that's a nice point for us to say goodbye, and do come and chat with us later on in the session.
Yeah, come see us.
And please do ask any questions in the Q&A section on this site, on this page, and we can pick up any comments there later on in the day.